Hey friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you're here. It is an exciting day because today we get to plant out our fall crops and start our fall garden for real. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 things that I do for the fall that helps to ensure I will have great success, great productivity, and great abundance of produce when it comes to the fall garden. And so 2 of the things we're going to talk about are things that I do every season, but one in particular that I do, the number 3, is one that I do in the fall, and it is a game changer. And so if you're struggling with your fall garden, or you struggled last year and you don't know why the bugs ate your stuff and what happened, and this is the video for you. I want to first start off by talking about step number 1 when it comes to what I do when it comes to my fall garden planning. But before I do that, I want to just welcome those who are brand new to the channel. Let you know my name is Barbara. I live in Tennessee. If you're wondering what region I'm in zone 7B, and I'm glad that you stopped by. If this is your first time on my channel, please say hello down in the comments and let me know what state or country you're coming in from so I can say hello back to you. And then also I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Clever Fox Planner. That's going to lead me to my step number 1, which is planning. That is one thing that I do with every season, is that I plan where my plants are going to go before I plant them. I want to show you this garden planner that I got from Clever Fox Planner. It comes in like 2 or 3 different colors. I chose this forest green. I put me a couple of stickers on there because it came with some stickers. But y'all, I love the fact that this is a compact size, so I can stick this in my purse. I can bring this out to the tunnel with me very, very easily. It's not like a big notebook or a big binder. I cannot stress the importance enough of planning when it comes to your garden, but also not just planning what's going to go in your garden, but to record notes and stuff about what happened in your garden. If you're like me, your memory is as good as when the memory is starting. Like when you've done something and it first becomes a memory, that's as good as it gets, right? Don't ask me tomorrow what I did yesterday or what I planned yesterday, because I'm like, if you were not there in that moment, I don't know unless I wrote it down. So let me just show you a couple of things in this planner. If you click the link in my description below, you will be able to go to that website and see what they have, and also there's a special discount. But one of the things that I love about this, I love a sticker, right? I love to be able to decorate. So I put on my first page my garden goals, and I'm going to fill that in. And then it has like the plant hardiness zone map, which I think is really, really nice. So sometimes if you're like, okay, such and such, the YouTuber I watch is in Utah, what zone is that? Or they're in California, you can see what zone it is and what the min and max temperatures are. So that's in there. I love that. A couple of other things that I love in here. It has a whole section about companion plants, which I think is nice. And this is, again, something great to have in the garden with you. Like you could just have a spot that you can keep it out there or bring it out with you every time that you come. And so I have a nice little handy reference about what plants can go well together and what plants don't need to be beside each other. It also has disease and prevention. So it has a whole list of the different diseases, what are the signs of it, and then also how to treat it or to prevent it. So y'all, just those 3 pages alone is worth it, okay? But then you have all of this open space where you can write down your notes, what you planted, what issues you had, the date that you planted it, like all the things. It is absolutely wonderful. So it's compact, it's easy to take with you in the garden, and it'll be a great way for you to document what happens in your garden. So if this is something that interests you, definitely click the link down below and go grab you one of these planners. So let's talk about step number 1. 3 steps to a successful fall garden. Number 1 is planning, right? And so one of the things that comes to mind, and this is outside of gardening, but one of the things that comes to mind, I remember when I was kind of instructing my kids about money when they first started working, getting their first paycheck and all that. And I would tell my daughter specifically, I was like, you need to plan your check on paper first. Like you plan, quote unquote, budget your money before you spend your money, right? And it comes with the same thing or the same idea when it comes to your garden. Instead of you just having 100 plants and just plopping them wherever, you need to plan your space. You need to plan with intention. So it starts with planning. What are you going to plant? But then even past that, where are you going to put it? So you guys, if you've been following me, you know that I love to teach and talk about efficiency, organization, and planning. And so when it comes to my garden, I always plan my spaces first. So one of the ways that I do that is I have sheets of every garden space that I have. So because today we're planting in the high tunnel, this is a very, very elementary replica of my high tunnel. You can see I have 3 raised beds on the left, 3 raised beds on the right. Those are my 2 circular beds. And then I have 3 rows there and 2 rows there. So that is pretty much the layout of my high tunnel. And so what I do is that I write down what's going to go where. It also helps me from a companion planting standpoint and pairing stuff. It also helps me to know how many plants do I need to have available. How many should I start, or if I have not started enough. And so I cannot imagine walking in my garden with all of these trays and just going for it in the moment. No. I plan it on paper first. So if you have not done that before, I encourage you to do that this fall. If your stuff is already in the ground, that's okay. Plan for the spring or for next summer. But all you have to do, again, depending on how many spaces you have, if you have 10 containers, make 10 circles. If you have 2 raised beds, make 2 rectangles on a piece of paper and just fill it in. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be efficient and work for you. So we're going to be going by this plan today as we kind of go through the garden and start to plant our fall crops. But let me get some of the fall crops. I didn't bring them all down here because I got a lot. But let me get my fall crops and let me show you how good they're looking. And yes, they are ready to go in the ground. Look at these. They are beautiful. This is a tray of Brussels sprouts and cabbage, if I'm not mistaken. So they look good. They are definitely ready to go in the ground. So this is one tray that I bought down here. This right here is a whole tray of collard greens that are definitely ready to go out. So this is 32 collard greens that we have, and everything that I'm showing you, we started from seed. Okay, in this tray, we have an assortment. We have bok choy, we have lettuce, and then we have some beautiful, beautiful kale. So we are going to, like I said, I probably have 4 or 5 more trays up there. And so I may not plant a whole bed based on what my plan says it's supposed to be in there, but this is all I could carry at the moment. And so I just wanted to get started. So I'm not behind, but I'm a little bit further behind on the calendar than I was last year. Last year, I planted out my fall crops the week of around September the 7th or 8th. And so I'm about, about 2 weeks past that date, which is fine because I'm in a high tunnel. So I'm not late by any stretch of the imagination. And these were absolutely ready to go out then, but I've just been traveling. I haven't been able to kind of dedicate time to put them out. And so I don't know that I'm going to get it all done in one fell swoop, but at least we're going to get started today with the fall crops. Okay, so point number 2, when it comes to how do I have a successful fall garden, is that I amend my beds. Now, I do this every season, and so fall is just another reiteration of that. And I find that many people do not amend their beds. They rely on whatever they did in the summer, and they're only amending beds once a year. I amend my beds twice a year. Once in the spring before the summer crops go in, and then also again before the fall crops go in. So let's talk about what I mean when I say amend my beds. Number 1, I'm going to make sure that I add in more nutrients or new nutrients into my bed. That's what I mean by amend. I'm changing the soil in the bed, not changing the soil per se, meaning I'm not taking all the soil out of the raised bed, but I am adding to the soil new nutrients. The reason why that's important is because most nutrients are going to have like a 90-day life cycle, for lack of a better terms. It's going to be available to your plants for, 3 to 4 months, somewhere along in there. And so if you put in new compost and new nutrients, worm chemicals or whatever, let's say in April or May, then that stuff is no longer available at the highest levels by September, October, right? It is depleted. And so if you're going to plant again in the fall, you need to add in some new nutrients. The nutrients are not everlasting, right? They have a time frame and a time limit. And so every fall I'm going and I'm adding in new nutrients to my bed. That's what I mean by amending the bed. So for me, I am doing things that I know my soil is deficient in. So I will be amending with feather meal, which is high in nitrogen, because my soil is low in nitrogen. I will also be amending with alfalfa meal, which is also a great slow release nitrogen source. Also, I'm using a product called Trifecta from MI Gardener, and I will show you that. This is the product that I get every fall from MI Gardener. You can use it in the summer too, but I specifically use it for the fall. It's a 5-10-4, which means it is high in phosphorus, and phosphorus is great for root development. And so, of course, in the fall, I have some root crops, which are carrots, beets, radishes, and things like that. So it's going to really help the root and bulb development of that. And plus, it's just a good fertilizer. I've always used this every fall. You can get it, like I said, from MI Gardener. So I'm going to amend with alfalfa meal, feather meal, trifecta, and worm castings. And then I'm going to put a new layer of compost on each raised bed. Now, when we get to the part where we're actually planting in the ground, on the other side of the tunnel, I'm going to do a mixture of all of those things in a bucket. I'm just going to put some in each hole. But for the raised beds, I'm going to sprinkle all of that stuff in and then top it with a layer of compost. That is super important. Now you may say, well, that's a lot of stuff to buy and put in there. Okay, but that's what I'm doing. So let me give you a base. Like, if you can't do but a couple of things, and you need to amend your soil, get an all-purpose fertilizer and get you some compost. That's at the base level. Base level is all-purpose fertilizer and some compost, and then you should be good to go. You don't have to add in the 5 things that I'm adding in. That's what I'm doing for my garden, and that's what I like, and that's what has been working for me. So I keep the train moving. But if you don't have the funds, or you don't want to buy those 5 things, you don't have them at your disposal or in your area, get you an all-purpose fertilizer that is organic and get you some compost. Let me show you one. I've never used this before, so I'm not necessarily endorsing it because I haven't used it, but I am going to try it this season. This is one by Dr. Earth. It's a organic and natural all-purpose fertilizer. So get you a bag of this. I think I got this from Walmart. They shipped it to me. It's not in the store, but they shipped it to me. And let me see what the numbers are. It's a 444. That means it's equal levels of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. It's organic. Dr. Earth has a great reputation for being good. I've never used it, so we'll see how it goes. So that's what you can do on a very base level, is get you a bag of that and some compost and call it a day. But whatever you do, don't do nothing, and don't try to rely on what you put out there in the summer. So that's step number 2, is definitely amend your beds. So first, plan where your plants are going to go, and then amend your bed. So now for me, I only have one bed that is completely empty for the fall. All my other beds have other stuff in them that's still growing for the summer that we're still going to let hang out for a little while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to still amend the bed, and we'll just kind of go around them. So that way, as I'm planting stuff in there, I don't want to plant the stuff and it's not amended, and then once it's time for the summer stuff to come out, to try to amend it then. I'm going to go ahead and amend the beds now, and then they'll be ready for me to. My husband came out and helped me do the heavy lifting with adding compost and all the other stuff to the bed. So now I'm getting ready to start planting. So I got 3 beds ready to plant. And then the other 3, we did not put compost in yet. We'll do that probably later. I want to see how much I can get in these 3 beds before we disrupt where the peppers and stuff are doing so well. So I have my little sheet that tells me where I've drafted or plotted for things to go. And so I just start following the sheet and filling up the beds. Okay, y'all, it's the next day. I got caught by the sun and then I forgot to hit record. So, anyway, let me catch you up. So, you saw on the video that my husband took care of all of the amending and fertilizing. So, that got done with all 6 beds. So, that part is done. The only thing that's not done, we put compost in. So, we have 3 beds that have compost in it, and then we have 3 more beds that still need compost. It was kind of out in the field. So he'll do that next, but that's okay because I'm not going to get to those beds yet because they still have stuff in them. And then I went ahead and start planting things and just kind of going according to my plan and getting some of the fall crops in. I brought some more stuff down here today, so I'm just going to time lapse this part and get some more stuff in the ground, and then I'll tell you about the third and final thing that I do when it comes to fall planting and how it helps me have a successful crop. It's hard to believe that we're at the change of seasons already going into the fall garden. It really seems like yesterday I was doing my seed starting series and saying, hey, y'all, it's time to start seeds for the summer garden. And just like that, it's always a reminder that everything is for a season. It is temporary. And when it comes to the garden, you have a new season to try new things, to have greater success, to learn more. So if your summer garden wasn't a success, I'm here to say don't give up. There's always a new season. There's always a new crop to plant. There's always a new space to tend to. There's always more that you can learn. And which is why I often say that it is definitely a journey. And so, like I said, it's hard to believe it's a new season, but it is. We are literally saying goodbye to the summer garden. We're letting a few things hang on, but literally, y'all, in about 30 days, even the stuff that's outside, at least in my area, it'll be too cold for, and they will start to die off. So their time is very limited, but it felt good to switch to a new season. And I think also it brings to mind how eating seasonally is really just so even more important now when I've learned to garden. I never even knew what eating seasonally meant until I became a gardener. But if you eat things when they are fresh and in season, then you get your fill all throughout the summer. You know, you get all your tomatoes, and now I could definitely still use some more tomatoes. I wish I could grow tomatoes year round so I can always have me a sandwich with a nice juicy tomato on it. So I definitely miss tomatoes in the winter. But you can get all your green beans, your corn, you know, get all the things, the squash, all the things that you love to eat it to capacity. And then if you have enough, preserve it so that you can taste that summer taste all the way into the fall and winter. But now it's time to shift our palates to all of the cold and cool season crops like kale and broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower, all the things, right? I haven't had a great kale salad since about, I don't know, February or March when my kale was on its way out. But now I'm excited again. So although I'm giving up tomatoes, I'm giving up corn, and by the way, all my corn is gone. The corn that we harvested, the corn that we preserved, it is all gone. So clearly I did not do enough. But even though I'm giving up those things, I get to gain kale salad again. I get to gain fresh broccoli and cabbage. So with each season is new opportunity. So I encourage you to get out there, and if you haven't decided yet if you're going to do a fall garden, if you're on the fence, let me just push you over the fence. Try something. Do a bucket of lettuce. Do something in the fall garden. And what you see me planting out here on this row, I'm doing collard greens for the bulk of this row, and then I'm also going to do some cabbage behind it. So that's what you see me planting here. But also on the row right beside it, I'm going to be doing some kale and some Brussels sprouts. So all the cool season crops. It's just, I can't wait. And another thing about the fall garden is that it is really so much easier. Like, it is a time to slow down because there really just isn't as much to do in the fall as it is during the summer. And so I get a lot of time back in the fall. I'm able to do classes and workshops for you guys. But also, if you were here last year, I try to learn something new every fall and winter. So last year I delved into learning how to make candles, which was great. And so what I'm looking forward to this fall and winter is I want to learn how to make soap. So if you have any good soap YouTubers, soap books, soap content, Any advice, tips, let me know. Now, I'm telling y'all right now, I'm not doing the lie thing. I'm going to start off with the melt and pour. Talk about me if you wish, but that is what your girl is going to do, the melt and pour. I'm not ready yet to deal with this lie business and yeah, no. We are going to do some melt and pour. That's as much as I know. So feel free to educate me and school me. But if you don't have plans for the fall and winter in terms of learning something new, try to take that time and learn something new. You know, whether it's, you know, maybe microgreens. Microgreens is a great thing to do in the fall. Even if you don't do a fall garden, microgreens are relatively easy. Everybody can do them and you have instant results. And I say instant, meaning you can have microgreens in like 7 to 10 days, which is amazing. So that's also something that maybe you could try for the fall. But take this time to slow down, to recharge, because just like the fall garden is here, y'all, let's not even talk about it. But before you know it, it'll be time to start seeds again for the summer garden. So I'm excited about the fall garden and what it's going to bring. And I enjoyed this day just being able to plant my groceries for the next 6 months. Okay, y'all. In the 5 years I've been gardening, I've gotten 5 years older, and I realized this planting in the ground, it is definitely better for younger people. Not my favorite part anymore. Necessary. I have been excited about doing this, but also dreading it because I know what a chore it is. And in the fall, we don't have a planting party. Maybe I should just bring a few friends over to help me plant the high tunnel, because it would go real fast. But it's just me and my husband doing it, so it takes a few days. And I'm not trying to get everything done today on this video because I still have crops that are not ready to go outside that I've just up potted. Plus I still have, like you said, these, like you saw, these peppers that are still in here. So all the space is not available. But we've got mostly 2 rows planted here. Most of the part, they're 75% done on each row. And then I have 2.5, almost 3 beds planted, and that's really all that I can do. I have some open spots over here in ground, but it's not gonna happen on today's video. But let me tell you the third and final thing that makes my fall planting go so much smoother. Now, this is something that I did not do my first 3 years of gardening. So let me tell you what would happen. I would plant my fall crops in September, and my fall crops would not hardly make it. They were eaten by bugs, holes and disappearing, just the whole thing, eaten by insects, the whole 9 yards. And so then last year I started doing this method, and it worked beautifully. And that is, I cover my fall crops when I put them in the ground with insect cover with some wire hoops. That has been a game changer for me. Now, this is the same concept that you would use when you do spring planting. Now, you guys know I garden in this high tunnel year round, so I don't necessarily do a spring planting. By the time it is like February or March, it is the same crops that I'm doing now today in September. It'll be the same crops in here in February and March. Now, it may be another succession of them, but it's the same exact stuff. So it's not like I'm doing spring planting. But if I were doing spring planting outside, like in March and April, people are trying to plant the things that you plant in the fall, like cabbages, greens, and things like that. And usually people's cabbage, I will get many a phone calls saying, hey, what's wrong with my cabbage? It's dying. It's laced with bugs and all that. Because by the time it gets time for maturity in the May and June time frame, that's when it's hot and that's when the bugs come out. And so this tip or this technique not only works for the fall, but it also will work for the spring. Now, you may say, I don't want to go through all that. Well, if you don't want to go through all that, then just know you're not going to be eating, because they're going to get your stuff. They're going to get your stuff. So ever since I've been doing it this way, I have had minimal damage to my plants. So I use wire hoops, and they come, I think, in a pack of 20, if I'm not mistaken. I started off getting them from one place. They went out of business. And so now, I don't remember the name of the place where I get them from. If I remember, I'll put it down in the description or in the link below and link to it. I think it's Hudson Valley. And just look up wire hoops. Now, you don't have to buy those wire hoops. You can also get some PVC pipe from Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, that kind of thing, and make your own. You just have to cut it and then, you know, bend it and all that. These I like because they come in a pack. They're very flexible, they're thin, and we can just put them in there. They come in a pack and they're just easy and flexible. So let me show you what one looks like and how it works. This is what the wire hoop looks like. You can see it's already comes kind of bent, versus if you get PVC pipe, it's going to be straight. And to me, in my experience, it's just harder to bend. But basically, you're going to stick one end in the ground or in your raised bed and the other end in the raised bed. You can see I have them done behind me. And so I have 2 rows and probably, I don't know, maybe 2 feet apart. So I have 3 sets in this raised bed, and then in the part that's in the ground, I do them like every 4 plants, which I don't remember how many feet that is, but basically you'll be able to tell. So now you may say, well, can I just cover it with a sheet? Yes, you can. So I'm telling you the ideal way. And again, this is an investment. Well, they're not really expensive. When I say an investment, meaning you're going to buy them and then you can use them year after year after year. So when I say an investment, you're going to be able to use these year after year after year. It's not expensive. I don't remember the cost. It may have been like $25 for a pack of 20. And I think I don't remember how many packs I got, but I use them for all of my raised beds and then also in the part that's in ground. So I will usually keep this and the cover on until probably around the end of October. When I make sure that all of the bugs and all of the insects and that kind of stuff is gone. Right now, I know that I still have bugs because even though I picked a ton of peppers the other day, there were still a few peppers that had been eaten and things like that. So just to be extra, now if I would have done it 2 weeks ago when I normally would have planted my fall crops, I absolutely would have done it then because I know for a fact. Now the bugs are dwindling, the pests are dwindling, but they are still there. So depending on when you see this video, how it is in your region, if you're struggling and this has been a concern for you in the past, I cannot stress the importance enough of doing this step. Now, when it comes to using sheets or other covers or things like that, ideally you don't want the sheets and stuff to lay directly on your plants. So this is the purpose of the hoop because it keeps it elevated. So the sheet or the insect cover is going to go over the hoop. So it's going to almost create like a dome effect. And that way, as the plants keep getting taller, the fabric is not touching the plants. And by the time they get tall, it'll be time to pull them off. Now, the insect cover that I use is from Tarps America. And I use Agribon. They have three different thicknesses. I think there's a 15, a 19, and a 30. And so what I'm using today is, I think it's either the 15 or the 19. It's probably the 19. And so all that is saying is that the different weights is going to tell you how thick it is and how heavy it is. So today I'm using insect cover. I'm not using frost cover. Frost cover would be the Agribon 30, which is a heavier fabric. I have that as well. Now, again, I have built this up over time. And so every year I continue to buy additional row covers and things like that. Now, I will tell you what I started doing, again, 4 or 5 years ago, was we used old sheets we found in the house and we just laid them on the plants. Were the plants okay? Yes, they were. But the old sheets are like really, really messy because they're going to get rained on and mud and all that stuff. And then basically you just don't want to throw them away when the season is over. You're not going to really feel like, oh, let me store that for next year, right? And a sheet is just, it's heavy, right? It doesn't do the same thing as an insect cover would. Now, a sheet for a frost cover, yeah, you can do that. But did I do that before? I did. But over time, I have invested in things that I know will last me a long time and that is more practical for the use. So these, again, this is the 3rd year, I think, I've been using these. I said I started this last year. I started this 2 years ago. So this is the 3rd year, I think, that I've used these. And again, they're in good shape. At the end of the season, we just take them all up, put them in a pile or a stack, and then we take all the row covers up and put them in totes. And that way we just pull them out the following year. Also the insect covers, let me talk about that. I started with sheets and I've done some insect covers like from Amazon and all that. I did that, but in my opinion, the ones that I got from Amazon, and I've tried 3 or 4 different brands, they were not as durable. They, again, tore really, really easily and they were only good for 1 season. So yes, I was able to get instant access, meaning I can get it in 2 days. And yes, it might have been a little bit cheaper, but in the end, I ended up paying more money versus the ones I've gotten from Tarps America. This is the third year I'm going to be using them. And they're not, I don't remember the price. You can go on there and take a look, but it wasn't crazy expensive at all. And again, I have a lot of space. Now, can you imagine if I was doing this outside of my outside garden? I only garden in here in the fall and winter. And again, like I said, I just, piecemealed it over time. So we will put the insect covers on first, and that will be until like maybe mid to late October. And then we also have a frost cover that we will do when the temperatures get extremely, extremely low. And when I say extremely low, for us, it's going to be sustained, I would say less than like 15 degrees. Then we'll put on the frost cover for an extra layer of protection. Also, what we've done before, we've had the last 2 winters, it got down to single digits and even 0 for like 5 or 6 days in a row, which is very uncommon here in Tennessee. But the last 2 years we have had it. And so my stuff was still fine in the tunnel. The only thing that did not survive was lettuce. Lettuce is good to about 20 degrees, but everything else I planted here survived. I had absolutely no issues. I've even doubled up the frost cover. So we'll talk more about that when the seasons change and we're actually in wintertime. But for the fall, I would highly recommend that you do something like a wire hoop, PVC pipe, something, and some insect cover. If you can't do both, then just get you an insect cover or an O-sheet, but just cover your stuff. And you have to remember to take it off, especially if your stuff is outside. You have to take it off if you're going to use something like a sheet or a thicker fabric for the fall, because it's going to get too hot for your plants. Now, let me show you the insect cover that we're going to use to cover this. And that way you can kind of see the thickness of it, and you can see that you can actually, it's permeable. So water can get through, light can get through, fertilizer, like I don't have to take it off to water my plants. Everything can still get through to my plants and they still receive sunlight. So again, this is from Tarps America. This is the Agribon. I think it's the Agribon 19. You can see already how thin it is. Now, I've had some people say, hey, they've used tulle before, what you would like use in a wedding, and you can get that at Walmart for a very cheap price. I will just tell you that the tulle is going to be a one-time use. It's going to be very hard to be able to use that tulle over and over and over. At the end of the day, the principle is, if you are planting out your fall crops in September and you live in a zone or an area where there's still bugs and insects and all of that, and from past experiences your stuff has been eaten, the principle is to cover it. Now, what you choose to cover it, if you want to use a sheet, if you want to use a tool, whatever it is that you have at your disposal or that your money can buy, use that. I'm just showing you what I'm using now that has been working for me for the past couple of years, but I certainly started off with those things as well. You can see how thin this is because you can actually see through it. And so we just secure it with these big clips that we got from Home Depot. I want to say they're, 50 cents, $1, something like that. And again, we have just accumulated and kept buying them over time to whereas now we have enough. But in the beginning, again, I'm always piecemealing because I understand sometimes it's not feasible to go out and spend $100 like right off the top to protect your plant. So you do what you can while you can. And then as you can do better, you start investing and getting more things that's going to last you so that you don't have to keep buying the same thing over and over and over. So you can see here, I'll be able to water, I'll be able to fertilize. But what happens is, as long as there's no insects already in there when I put the cover on, they should be fine. Now, was it 100% foolproof? No, but I would say it's like 95%, meaning there were times when I would see a little bit of damage, like maybe something got up under the insect cover, and then when that happened, I would just spray BT or something like that, and then they would be fine. But I did not have to throw away any plants or lose any plants when I used this method. So you can see those big, huge, it was almost like big, not a paper clip, but essentially a clamp. It's almost like a clamp is exactly what it is. You could also secure it with like sandbags on the edges if you wanted to do that. Also, it comes in different lengths. So you'll see that when you go to the Tarps America site, that they have different lengths. So you get the lengths that's going to fit your accommodations and whatever size your beds are. You can see that this one is a little bit long. It might have been one that was supposed to go out there, but it doesn't matter. As long as we tuck it in so nobody's tripping, we are good to go. But out of all the things that I've told you today, this is absolutely the most important. If you want to secure your crops, this right here is a game changer. So when it comes to fall, planting your fall crops, there are three things that I highly recommend. One is definitely plan before you plant. And number two, make sure that you amend your beds and put in extra nutrients, fertilizer, and things like that so that you don't try to use the nutrients from the summer that's already gone. And then number three, cover your items. This is especially important, especially if you're outside, is to cover your stuff until the pest pressure is reduced. And that way you'll have more likelihood of having, abundant crops and things like that. Now, let me know what questions you have. I will try to put the links down below for the different things that we talked about so that you guys can just click the link and go and get it. And hopefully they'll have them in stock. But the wire hoops is Hudson Valley Seed Company, and then Tarps of America is where I got the insect covers, and it's Agribon. I think this is 19. You can get 15 or 19. And then for frost covers, I use Agribon 30. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that this was helpful. I would love to know how your fall gardens are doing. If you've already planted your stuff in the ground and what it's looking like, let me know if you've already had some damage, and let me know if this is helpful. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to be a part of this community. Hit the subscribe button and follow along. Remember, y'all, this is all a journey. Let's grow together. I'll see you next time, friend.